Hello and welcome to your day 8 of the Android application development course. Today we are going to learn about broadcast receivers and internal activities. Let's start the day. First of all, let's understand the meaning of broadcast receivers. These are classes which will respond to system-wide broadcasts like incoming message, incoming call, battery low, etc. You might have heard of a application that logs all the incoming calls into a website. That is, whatever calls come to your cell phone number, they will be logged to some website. This is done with the help of broadcast receivers. Whenever a call comes into your cell phone, you first receive that broadcast with the help of a broadcast receiver. You process that call and you send all the numbers and everything of that call to an online server. This is the main utility of broadcast receivers. Broadcast receivers do not have any user interface. To create a broadcast receiver, you should follow the given steps. Step 1 is you should add the receiver tag for receiving the broadcast in the manifest. Until now, we have added the activity tag inside our Android manifest file, but for a broadcast receiver, we have to add a receiver tag inside the manifest file. That's fine. You have to add permissions to read the broadcasted data. For example, in our case, if we are reading the incoming message, we have to add the permission to read that incoming message inside the manifest file. You have to create a new class and extend it from the broadcast receiver class. There is a class in Android called as broadcast receiver. You have to create a new class and you have to extend it from the broadcast receiver class. Then you have to override the onReceive method in the new class. In the activities, you had to override the onCreate method. Okay, but when you are having a broadcast receiver, you have to override the onReceive method. Then you have to capture the data with the help of the intent passed with this function. Whatever intent that is passed to the onReceive function, you have to capture that data with the help of that intent, and you have to use that data inside your activity. Now, with the knowledge about broadcast receivers, let's have some knowledge about incoming messages. When an SMS is received, a broadcast is sent by the Android OS. The broadcast sent by the Android OS is called as android.provider.telephony.sms received. This is the broadcast that is sent by the Android OS. In our application, we would be receiving this SMS and displaying the user with the help of Toast. Once the data is received, we can use that SMS in our application. Messages that are incoming, they are received in the form of PDUs or packeted data units. These PDUs contain the incoming message number, the message body, the date time of the messages, and some other information. The broadcast receiver provides the SMS in the form of a bundle. The bundle contains a key named PDUs, whose value is an array of information about the SMS received. Okay, so whenever the SMS is received, that is received in the form of a bundle. That bundle contains a key with the name PDUs. That key contains an array of information about the SMS received. We have a class called as SMS message. This class will be used to read this message from the bundle and convert it into a proper format. So let's create a new project with the name broadcast receiver demo. In the manifest file, let's add the following permissions. We'll add the permission of android.permission.receive SMS because we are trying to receive some SMSs from the incoming user. Once the permission is added, inside the application tag you'll be having some application code. After the application code is complete, but just before the /application tag, you have to add a receiver tag. The receiver's name is SMS receiver. This will be the name of the class that we'll be creating to receive the SMS. We'll have an intent filter because this SMS receiver can receive all the broadcasts, but out of all the broadcasts, we want to receive just one broadcast with the name android.provider.telephony.sms received. Okay, the intent filter will be used to filter out the broadcast and give us just the SMS received broadcast. The application tag closes. Then we have to make sure that SMS receiver is the name of the broadcast receiver class which we'll be creating after this. Let's check out the application flow. If we have two cell phones P1 and P2, if P1 sends a SMS to P2, P2 would implement a broadcast receiver named SMS receiver. The SMS receiver class of P2 will receive the SMS and display it as a toast. The toast will be displayed on the activity class, okay, because broadcast receivers do not have a UI, but we are receiving the SMS inside the broadcast receiver, so we have to make a facility to display this toast inside the activity class. Thus, the SMS receiver class must have the context of the main activity to display the toast. If this is going a bit way above, let me tell you a small example. If the SMS is received by P2, that SMS is received by the P2's broadcast receiver. But broadcast receivers does not have a user interface. The activity has a user interface. If we want to toast something at the output, we have to get the context of the activity. To get the context of the activity inside the broadcast receiver, we have to make a facility so that the broadcast receiver can get the context of the activity and display the message at the output. So this is the main crux of this, that the SMS receiver class must have the context of the main activity to display the toast. We need to make this arrangement inside the main activity class. We'll do this, don't worry. Let's write the class SMS receiver. So we'll add a new class to a project with the name SMS receiver, and we will say public class SMS receiver extends broadcast receiver. We have to override the onReceive method. Inside this we are getting the intent as arg1. So from this intent we'll be getting a bundle. So we'll say bundle equals to arg1.getExtras. It will get the bundle from this. And let's initialize the null message with the help of the SMS message class. Let's read the SMS. We'll first initialize a blank string. Inside this string we'll be having the messages. We'll first check if the bundle is not equal to null. If the bundle is not equal to null, that means there is something received from the incoming SMS. Let's get the PDUs from the bundle. So we'll say bundle.get PDUs. It will get an array of objects from the bundle, and those objects will be collected inside the variable PDUs. Now we have to go through these PDUs and get the data. To get that data, we'll say messages that we had defined earlier equals to new SMS message. This is the SMS message class. We have to define the number of messages as the PDU's length. So if we are getting a message of 5 message long, or if we are getting a message of 5 page long, then the number of objects inside the PDUs will be 5. We have to define a messages object of length 5. That is why we are doing this. Then we'll go through each of the messages, and in each of the message we will create the message from the PDU by calling a function saying SMS message.create from PDU, and we'll pass in the PDUs. These PDUs will be converted into a message and will be given to messages of I. From this messages of I, we'll read the incoming number and we'll read the SMS body. Okay, so whatever message we get from the incoming messages, that message will contain the incoming number and the body. To get the incoming number, we'll say messages of I dot get originating address. It will give me the phone number of the person. We'll add a colon in between so that we get a separator, that is the phone number colon the body of the message. So then we'll add the message dot get message body dot to string. We'll convert the body of the message to a string and we'll give it inside the str. Once the string is set up, then we'll say toast.makeText main activity.myContext. Main activity is the name of our main activity. MyContext is a static variable inside the main activity which contains the context of the application, comma the str, that is the string which we set up in the previous slide. Toast.lengthLong will show the toast at the output. .show will show the toast at the output. Once this is done, in the main activity, we need to create a static variable named myContext, which will contain the context of the main activity. Okay, so let's go to the main activity class. Inside this, we'll have a static variable myContext, and over here we'll simply say myContext equals to this. By doing this, we are initializing the variable myContext, and this variable myContext is used when we are displaying the toast over here. As you can see, the myContext variable is used when we are displaying the toast, and main activity is the class name, which is our main activities class. Dot myContext is the name of the static variable inside the main activity class, which is the context of our application. I hope we are clear with this. With this knowledge, let's do it and check out if we can receive the incoming SMS.
Let's do it for the messaging application. Here we will be receiving the SMS and displaying the SMS as soon as the SMS is received. For that, we'll go to File and say New Android Application Project. In this, let me give the name of this as SMS Receiver Demo. Let me give package name as com.fitech.sms receiver demo. The build SDK as Android 2.3.1. Uncheck on this, next, next, and let me give title of this as SMS receiver. Over here, first of all, we have to add some permissions in the manifest file. For that, we'll double click on the manifest file. Inside the manifest file, we'll go to permissions. Inside permissions, we'll say add users permission. We have to add the permission to receive a SMS. For that, we'll search for the permission of receive SMS. It's over here. Then we have to create a service. For the service, we'll be doing something like this. We'll be writing over here receiver Android name equals to, now the receiver in our case will be a class. We'll make the class with the name SMS receiver. This indicates that this will be the class for the receiver. Then we have to use an intent filter. That intent filter will indicate that which type of receiver is this. Means out of the complete receivers, which broadcast will this receiver receive. So we'll keep the action of this as Android.telephony dot, it should be Android dot provider dot telephony dot SMS underscore received. This is the permission, or this is the broadcast which we want to receive. Then just close this bracket so that the action tags get completed and you don't get any errors over here. So far so good. So we have added a receiver to the manifest file with the name SMS receiver. So let's create this class SMS receiver in the source. Right click on this and say new class. The class name as SMS receiver. Make sure this class name and the receiver name in the manifest matches. Then you have to say public class SMS receiver extends broadcast receiver. That will give you an error because you haven't implemented the methods of it. The onReceive method is the method where you receive the broadcast. Inside the onReceive method, you will get an intent. You have to get the bundle from this intent by saying bundle BDL equals to arg1. arg1 indicates this is the intent argument dot get extras. It will give you the bundle out of the complete intent. Then you have to create an array of SMS message. So you just say SMS message SMS equals to null. This will be a class which will be actually holding the SMSs. Then you'll have string str, which will be a blank string. This will be the string which will actually contain your message. Then you will find if bundle is not equals to null. This indicates that we are able to get the bundle from the intent. Once we have got the bundle, then we need to get the complete PDUs from the bundle. Or from those PDUs we have to generate the message. we have to join that message inside the string, and then we have to display that string. So I'll just copy paste some code from the slides. Over here, the bundle will be replaced by BDL, that is fine. The messages will be replaced by SMS, that's also fine. Then we'll again have SMS over here. Then we will have SMS over here as well, and SMS over here as well, and SMS over here as well. Let's understand what we have done. We have first taken the complete PDUs from the bundle. Each of these PDUs will contain a byte of information. Those bytes of information will actually contain your complete message. So if I will say PDUs of I, this will give me a complete byte array of information. This byte array of information will be stored inside the SMS of I. From this SMS of I, we'll read the incoming number by saying get originating address, and we will attach a separator, and then we'll read the SMS body. Once we are done with this, we have to just toast this thing out. So we'll say toast.makeText. The context has to be taken from the main activity. So I will say main activity dot my context. This will give me an error right now because we do not have the my context over here. The text has to be the str, and the duration will be toast dot length long, and we show this thing so that we get the output on the screen. Now we have to define a my context variable inside the main activity. We are accessing it by saying my main activity dot my context. This indicates that my context has to be a static variable inside the main activity. Let's define it over here. We will say public static my context, and whenever the on create is called, we will say my context equals to this. We have to define the class for it, so I'll say context my context. This will indicate that my context is a public static variable of class context, and whenever this activity is created, at that time we will be having the my context and setting up its value to this. The meaning of this is that the context of this activity. Let's run this thing and get the output of it on the screen with Android application. It will upload the SMS receiver demo on the device, and will start the activity. Now, when the activity started, you will not be getting anything over here, because whenever an SMS is received, at that time our application will run and it will actually give you the output. So to send the SMS, we'll go to the DDMS perspective. Inside the DDMS perspective, we have to say incoming number. Let me give the number as 9823564675. Let me give the SMS of this as hello to broadcast receivers, and this send. As you can see, as soon as we send the SMS is first toasted to us on the screen and then go into the inbox. Let us do one more thing. We'll just repeat that thing once again, 967345, whatever number you'd want. Then as soon as I click on send, then this SMS will first be toasted, then be displayed on the notification. That indicates that our application is receiving it first, then it is going to the inbox. As you can see, it is first getting displayed over here, then going to the inbox. Okay, so if you want, there is something called as SMS reception. You can discard that SMS reception with the help of some functions. If you discard that SMS reception by saying discard broadcast, that SMS will not be stored inside your inbox and it will be deleted directly from the cell phone itself. So that can also be done with the help of the broadcast receiver.
The next part of this slide is something called as accessing the camera application or accessing the internal activities which we have with Android. Let's create a new project called as camera demo. This project will have a button. On clicking the button, the camera application must be started. Once the user has clicked on a photo and set save, this picture must be displayed in R form. Okay, so whatever data or whatever picture that the user has taken from his camera must be displayed inside our activity. For this we need a button to start the camera and an image view to display the captured image. Let's access the inbuilt Android activity to access the camera. An Android device has many inbuilt activities like camera application, maps application, contacts application, etc. We can access these features with the help of ready-made activities available with the Android OS. For example, if you want to access the camera application, you just have to have the action string for camera. You can just create an intent and launch this intent with the help of the action string so that the camera application will be launched. Similarly, you can do it for the other applications as well. These activities can be launched with the help of intents, but they have to be launched with the help of a function called as start activity for result. Why are we using this function and why not the start activity function? Because whenever we'll be accessing any of the internal applications of Android, then we'll be expecting some data to be returned back. Okay, that data is the result of the activity which can be obtained with the help of the function start activity for result. The function will start the activity and return a result as soon as the activity gets finished. For example, if you're launching the camera application, as soon as the user has clicked the application, as soon as the user has clicked the image, that image will be returned back when the activity is finished. When an activity returns a result, then the function onActivityResult is called. This onActivityResult function has to be implemented by us, and inside this function we'll be getting all the data from the activity and displaying that data onto our screen. That's fine. Let's draw the layout of this. We have two controls over here. First is the button, that is the BTN camera demo, and second is the image view, that is IMG camera. Inside the main Java code, we'll have an integer value, that is the camera activity code. Why this code is used, we will see, but for now just define an integer. That integer should be camera activity code equals to 0. And we'll have the image view, IMG camera. Let's get the reference of the button and that of the image view. If you'll look at this carefully, the button has been defined inside the onCreate method, whereas the image view has been defined outside the onCreate method, because whenever the result will be obtained from the camera application, that result has to be displayed inside the image view. That is why the IMG camera will be used inside onCreate and inside onActivityResult as well. That is why we want to have the IMG camera variable as a global variable, not a local variable. Then we'll have btn camera.set onClick listener. Inside the onClick function, we'll first define the intent. The intent here defined is defined in a different way because we want to have an image capturing intent. So how do we define that intent? By saying intent int camera equals to new intent android.provider.mediastore.action image capture. This complete line of code will allow us to launch an activity which will capture the image from the Android device. If you will replace this by action video capture, it will launch the camera application with the video functionality. Okay, then we will say start activity for result, the intent and the camera activity code that we have defined previously as 0. Okay, so far so good. So we have defined an intent and we have said start activity for result, the intent comma the camera activity code. This camera activity code is defined as 0. Now why have we done this? Let me make this thing clear to you. Whenever you will say start activity for result, the camera application will be launched. Whenever you will click a photo from that camera and come back, the on activity result will be called. Inside the on activity result, there is something called as a request code. The request code should match with the request code of the calling intent. That means you have called the intent with a code of 0. When the intent will come back, it will come back with a code of 0 again. You have to check if this code of 0 is matching with the code with which you started the activity. To make this thing more clear, let's override the on activity result. Over here you can see you have the request code. The request code indicates which code was sent by you and which code is returning back. So you will say if request code is camera activity code, that means if the request code with which this result has been returned, if that code is the camera activity code, then we'll get the data from the intent by saying data, which is the intent, dot get extras. Over here we'll get the bundle from the intent, dot get data. This data is the key which contains the bitmap of the camera which has been captured. So we have to convert that data from an object form to a bitmap form. To do that, we'll do this typecasting. So we'll say data dot get extras dot get data. It will give me the bitmap of the image. Then I can simply say img camera dot set bitmap bmp. It will set up the image bitmap of this image view to be the bitmap returned from the camera application. By doing this, you will be able to create an application that will launch the camera. You will be able to click an image from the camera and you will be able to come back again. Now let's have some tips that you should note to use internal activities. First of all, you have to find the action string for the given activity. In our case, the action string was android.provider.mediastore.actionImageCapture. How to get this action string? You have to go to developer.android.com and get the action string from there. Give a unique user-defined code for that activity. We gave the camera activity code as 0. You can give a different code as well over here. That's not a problem. Then you have to launch the activity for returning a result. We said start activity for result. Then get the result and use it inside the onResult function. This gives an intent argument which contains the return data. You have to just say that intent.getExtras to get all the data from it and then give the output.
So let's do it for the camera demo application. For that, I'll go to File and say New Android Application Project. With the project name as Camera Demo, package name as com.fitech.camera demo, the build SDK as 2.3.1, and let me give title of this as Camera Demo. So far so good. Now we have to draw a layout that contains a button and an image view. Let me change the layout style of this to linear layout. Remove this hello world from here. Add a button. Change the width of the button to fill parent or match parent. Text of this to start camera. ID of this to btn start camera. Let's give the image view over here. I'll just change the width of this to match parent and height of this to match parent, and the ID of this to img camera. Okay, let's now go to the source folder. Inside the main activities on create, we'll get the references of the control first. To get the references of the control, I'll say final button btn camera equals to button find view by id r.id.btn start camera. Then I have final image view img camera equals to image view find view by id r.id.img camera. As a revision, I can tell you that whatever typing I have done so quickly, that is because of the control space. If you will be trying to do control space on your PCs as well, you will be able to type this thing that quickly. Now let's go to step 2 and add the on click for the button. So I'll say btn camera dot set on click listener, new on click listener. Over here, just import the on click listener from the Android's SDK. Now I want to create an intent. I will say intent int camera equals to new intent. Over here I have to select the string action because I have to select an action of the Android's internal OS. So we'll keep the action over here as Android dot provider dot media store dot action image capture. So we have action image capture over here. Then I don't have to simply start this activity. I have to start the activity to get a result. That result will be the image that has been captured. So I'll say start activity for result, the intent is intent camera, and it is giving me a request code. Let me give the request code as camera code. A camera code should be a variable that has to be defined over here. Let me give final int camera code equals to 0. This indicates that whenever we are starting this activity, we are starting this activity with a code of 0. You can keep this code as per your wish, that is not a problem. Whenever there is a result from the activity, the onActivityResult function is called. Inside this onActivityResult, we get the request code. This request code would be the camera code if the result has occurred from the camera application. So I'll just compare that thing once. I'll say if request code is double equals to camera code, that means I am able to get the data from the camera. From the data I have to get the bundle, and from that bundle I have to get my image. So I'll say bitmap bmp equals to, I have to convert that to a bitmap. I will say data dot get extras dot get, and the key is data over here. That key gets the data that you have been received from the activity. Then I have to set this bitmap as the bitmap for the image view. But you have to understand the fact that we have defined the image view inside the onCreate method, so we cannot access the image view inside the onActivityResult. To have a look around for that, you can just cut this thing from here and paste it at the top, and yeah, you can just use it inside this img camera. This indicates that the img camera is a global variable. That global variable has been initialized inside onCreate, and whenever someone clicks on the btn camera, an activity will be started with the code 0, and whenever this activity sends a result, then you will be displaying that bitmap on the image view. So you can say img camera dot set bitmap, set image bitmap to bmp. Once you have done with this, you will be able to get the output of this application running on the screen. So let's do it on the actual device. Let's run as Android application. It will show me which device that I want to run this application on. I have one of the devices connected in front of me. That device will actually be displaying the camera, but to show you what happens if you run this on the emulator, let's go ahead and run this thing on our actual emulator. Let's click on start camera. Let's start the camera for you, but that camera is the device's camera. This camera is a blank camera which just gives you one image when you click on the camera button, and when you click on OK, this image will be displayed to you on your actual device. Okay, now this has to be done on the real device, so let's do it and see what happens on a real device. I have connected my device on the camera demo application, so let's run this thing. Right click, run as Android application, and run it on the device directly. When I run it on the device, I will be using an application called as Android JNLP. That application actually displays you the complete device's screen on your computer. When you click on start camera on the device, and the camera of the device will get started, you'll be able to see the actual feed of the camera on your screen. When I click on the camera button over here, as you can see, and the device captures the image, and that image will be displayed to you on your actual screen.